That's how we do it.
There we go.
There we go. Nice little snapper. Ready for the release?
And go for it. This week, Jim makes a long flight to Auckland, New Zealand, where he hooks up with Tony Free, the man in charge of Ocean Kayak New Zealand.
I arrived in New Zealand yesterday afternoon and was met at the airport by my new friend, Tony Free, my new best friend, because Tony has set up this whole trip for us. Tony's the general manager of Johnson Outdoors here in New Zealand.
Tony and his crew have just put the finishing touches on a new model of fishing kayak, the Ultra. And Jim's arrived just in time to put the boat through its paces. The shores of this kayak angler's paradise are full to the brim with kingfish, or yellowtail as they're called in North America, and Jim plans to hunt down a few monsters in the shiny new boat. Joining Jim for the test flight is local kayak fisherman Jay Saunders. Jay is an icon in the local fishing scene, rocking local tournaments by sheer will and physical strength. Able to hoist more than 150 pounds over his head with each arm, the massive local kingfish don't stand a chance. When Jim asked Tony Free, manager of Ocean Kayak New Zealand, for the best person to fish with on the North Island, Jay was the only name that sprang to mind.
And Tony's comment was, yeah, not so keen on catching huge monster kingfish. We need someone who's a little bit stupid, so that was me.
Local pro Jay Saunders head to Lake Taupo, a freshwater lake that has developed a reputation for having some of the best trout fishing in the world. But catching trout from a kayak is no easy task. And so they've hooked up with Kiwi trout guru, Brian Dalton, who's fished these waters his whole life.
Okay guys, my name's Brian Dalton. We're at Lake Taupo, New Zealand, and we're currently in Whakaiparo Bay. The plan of attack today is we're going to go and do some trout jigging. The reason we've chosen this bay is basically the weather's dictated. This is where we're going to fish. But as it happens, the bay's been fishing really well. We've got a couple of spots 200 or 300 metres from shore where we're heading, and hopefully we'll be into some big rainbow trout. The jigging, it's not like salt water where with saltwater jigging you've got great big movements. What we're doing, we're going to let our jigs and our weights hit the bottom. We'll do 1 or 2 winds just to lift it off the bottom, and then it's a very slow movement with the rod. In fact, sometimes just having your rod in the rod holder is enough movement to catch the trout. So big in this case is not good. That won't catch the fish. It's a gentle, slow, and of course once you get a fish, the take's fairly strong, then you set the hook really hard and it's all on from that point.
Local knowledge wins out as Brian immediately schools the 2 saltwater anglers on the finer points of fresh.
Okay, we've only got a small one, but the interesting thing here is this one's caught on the jig. We're using 2 flies in the jig. Now, most people that fish Lake Taupo don't use jigs. They'll use a couple of flies and a weight, but I love using the jig. And some days you'll come out and you'll catch every fish on the jig. Ooh, he doesn't like the look of that kayak. There he is. I'll let him go again. But look at the nice colour fins on this one. He's a beautiful fish. I've got a Ocean Kayak torque I'm using today. Torque is really great if we're jigging like today and the wind comes up a bit. I can actually have the motor just ticking over, backing it into the wind, and it helps me maintain my position. So it slows my drift down.
Jim is never one to give up easily, and soon enough, all 3 get in the zone.
You get that, Will?
Yeah, man. Oh, nice fish.
45 horsepower, she was 95 proof. 345 horsepower, she was 95 proof.
There you go.
Fully stranded and bearskin branded. She's gonna beat down another broken man. The cool field of the running water. We felt their hands, man, pick us up out of the gutter. And then came
I think what I like about the kayak is it's so easy to launch and retrieve. I can duck out before work, get a couple of hours fishing in, whereas with a bigger boat, you think, oh, it's a bit of a hassle launching. Like today, we can launch off any little beach. We can basically be within launch 200 or 300 metres of our fishing spot. And of course the kayaks catch fish. Whoa! See what I mean? this is why I've got a kayak. Whoa! This is a better one. Okay.
So Brian hooked us up with this setup. It's basically a 3-hook setup. They have a heavy jig on the bottom. Sometimes guys will just use a heavy weight, but ours are hooked. And then we're set up with 2 different flies. They're about 3 feet apart. And we drop this all the way down to the bottom, take it a couple cranks off the bottom, and then just really lightly twitch it. Just get that thing just kind of moving around a little bit, not too much. The key really is to try and stay directly over the top of the lure, which today has been kind of tough because it's been so windy. Brian's been using the Ocean Kayak Torque, and with that power, he's able to stay directly over the top of the fish. So awesome. Besides his local knowledge and skill of knowing this area, I think the torque has helped him out a lot today, being able to stay directly over his lure where I've had to make paddle strokes to try and stay over it.
Last fish of the day. We're off home. Well, not home, off to the Coromandel to catch some kingfish.
After some incredible trout fishing on Lake Taupo, Jim and local pro Jay Saunders are finally getting their first taste of saltwater in one of New Zealand's most spectacular areas, the Coromandel. Here they hook up with another one of New Zealand's top pro anglers, Rob Fort, and his fishing buddy, Pete McKenzie.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rob Fort, and I run a tour business in New Zealand, kayak fishing, Coromandel Kayak Adventures. Specialise in fishing for snapper, kingfish, you name it, whatever we can get a hold of, and we do some extreme kayak fishing trips. We're going out to hunt some snapper and kingfish, cruise around here, and there's quite a few species here that we could possibly get into. You know, we're just going to see what turns up, but there's some bait fish around here, there's no wind, it's a help. And the fish will come in later here. I've free dived and spearfished here quite a lot, so I know this coast, and those big moocher snapper are definitely come in here later in the day, early morning.
Unfortunately, the winds are still up, and so the guys need to keep to the more sheltered areas close to shore. But the wonderful thing about New Zealand is there's great fishing to be had almost everywhere.
Once again, hiding from the wind. Offshore, it's freaking blowing again. So Rob assures us there's lots of good snapper here. Saw some good signs of fish as we pulled in, some bait and stuff, so we're gonna just see what we can do.
Nice fish. It's got a bit of weight to it. It's definitely pulling some line. Nice fish to catch anyway, good fun on this light gear. Using about 15-pound braid. So I can't put too much heat on it, but we're pretty right out here. It's 26 meters, mostly sand now. Snapper, oh no, yeah, it's a snapper, but it's nothing huge. Just a nice eating size in New Zealand. Just a nice panty snapper. Beautiful fish in this country. There he goes, he's off.
It's a good fish. It might be one of New Zealand's very rare, elusive jumping snapper. Yep, there he goes again. Oh, he's jumping all over, thinks he's a marlin.
We better release this lunker. We don't, you know, this is the breeding stock right here.
Do we need to tag it first?
Yep, you got a spray can?
Yeah.
Go in the high